It was March the 21st, 1998. The Royal Caribbean cruise ship Rhapsody of the Seas was gliding through the Caribbean waters, sunlight glinting across the ocean. For the Bradley family, Ron, Iva, Brad, and their 23-year-old daughter Amy, it was supposed to be a dream vacation, a time to relax, to dance, to laugh, to step away from the pressures of everyday life back home in Virginia. But within hours, their dream would turn into a nightmare. By sunrise the next day, Amy Lynn Bradley, healthy, vibrant, and just 23 years old, was gone. No one saw her leave. No one heard her screams. No one could explain how a young woman could vanish from a cruise ship surrounded entirely by water. More than 2 decades later, her case is still one of the most chilling unsolved disappearances in American history. And now, thanks to renewed media attention and a Netflix documentary, her story is being pulled back into the spotlight, forcing us to ask, what really happened to Amy Lynn Bradley? Amy wasn't just another tourist on vacation. She was an accomplished young woman, a strong swimmer, a college graduate, a former lifeguard. Friends described her as outgoing, athletic, and full of life. She was close to her younger brother, Brad, and though she was excited to be on the cruise, she was also cautious. She told friends before leaving that she felt uneasy about the trip. Something about being confined on a ship with strangers didn't sit right with her. On their first night aboard, the Bradleys enjoyed a night of food, drinks, and music. Amy and Brad spent part of the night at the ship's nightclub, where they were seen dancing with the band's bass player. By the early morning hours, both siblings returned to the family's cabin. Around 5:15 a.m., Amy was last seen sitting on the balcony of their stateroom, smoking a cigarette. Her father, Ron, briefly woke, saw her there, and went back to sleep. When he awoke again around 6 a.m., Amy was gone. At first, Ron assumed she had gone to get coffee or take a walk, but as minutes turned into an hour, panic set in. Amy's shoes, ID, and belongings were still in the cabin. She hadn't packed a bag, and she was nowhere to be found on the ship. The family immediately begged ship staff to make an announcement over the intercom. They wanted passengers alerted right away in case Amy was in danger, but the crew refused, telling the family it was too early and would disturb guests. Instead, they quietly searched the ship. By then, passengers were already disembarking at the first port, potentially erasing vital evidence and witnesses. The delay proved devastating. From the very beginning, the case was plagued with contradictions. Ship authorities initially suggested Amy may have gone overboard, but her parents knew that wasn't possible. Amy was an expert swimmer, a former lifeguard who had swum in far rougher waters than the calm Caribbean that morning. Even more, no one heard a splash or saw movement in the water. And soon, chilling sightings would surface, suggesting Amy hadn't drowned at all, but had been taken. Over the years, witnesses came forward claiming to have seen Amy after her disappearance. A member of the ship's band later told authorities he believed Amy had been approached by crew members the night before, possibly lured. A tourist in Curaçao claimed she saw Amy being escorted on a beach by 2 men. A naval officer reported encountering a distressed woman in a brothel who whispered to him, "My name is Amy Bradley. Please help me." And in 2005, the family was sent a photograph of a woman resembling Amy posted on an escort website. Her eyes heavy, her posture defeated, as though she had been trapped in a life she did not choose. Each sighting reignited hope, then despair. Leads would flare and fade. But one thing became clear. If Amy had been abducted, she may have been forced into human trafficking, sold into a shadow world of control and exploitation. For the Bradley family, the pain was relentless. Every phone call, every tip, every photograph carried the weight of possibility. They searched relentlessly, hiring private investigators, working with the FBI, and even appearing on America's Most Wanted. But answers remained elusive. What makes Amy's case so haunting is the combination of opportunity and negligence. Cruise ships are floating cities, Yet security in the late 1990s was shockingly lax. Surveillance was minimal, crew members often outnumbered and overworked. The refusal to alert passengers in those first critical hours left the Bradley family convinced that opportunities to save Amy had been lost forever. And then there was the eerie behavior of some crew members. Before Amy's disappearance, several staff members had reportedly made her feel uncomfortable, even asking her to pose for photos that she declined. After she vanished, crew were seen handing out missing flyers with her picture, while some quietly suggested she had simply walked away. Theories swirled. Did Amy leave the ship willingly? Was she drugged and taken? Did organized traffickers use the port stops to smuggle her off? Every possibility raised new questions, none with satisfying answers. As the years passed, her story faded from mainstream attention. The Bradleys never stopped searching, but without fresh leads, hope dimmed. Then, in 2024, Netflix announced a 3-part documentary series, Amy Bradley is Missing. The program reignited interest worldwide, bringing her case to a new generation of viewers. Online forums exploded with theories. Podcasts debated whether the sightings were credible. Even YouTube creators like us picked apart the timeline. And then came another twist. In 2025, podcast host Ethan Klein publicly offered a $1 million reward for Amy's safe return or for credible information that could solve the case. The reward renewed hope and pressure, reminding the world that Amy's disappearance was not just a story. It was an unresolved tragedy with a family still waiting for answers. For her parents, Ron and Iva, the passage of time has been both cruel and motivating. They've spent nearly 3 decades searching for their daughter, clinging to the belief that Amy may still be alive somewhere. Each new lead has carried them on a roller coaster of emotion, hope, fear, devastation, and resilience. Her brother, Brad, who was with her that final night, has carried his own burden. Survivor's guilt, unanswered questions, and the endless memory of seeing his sister dancing just hours before she was gone. Amy Lynn Bradley's case embodies every family's worst nightmare: to lose a loved one without closure, to never know if they're alive or dead, free or imprisoned, suffering or at peace. Today, Amy's name lives on in online communities, in documentaries, and in the countless vigils and memorials her family has held. Her face, once full of youth and promise, has been digitally aged by the FBI to show what she might look like today, in her 50s. Those images serve as both a beacon of hope and a cruel reminder of time lost. The haunting question remains: what really happened aboard the Rhapsody of the Seas that morning? Did Amy willingly step off the ship, tired of the confines of family life, only to be trapped in something far darker? Or was she targeted, abducted, and pulled into the shadows while the world looked the other way? We may never know the full truth, but her case stands as a chilling warning about the vulnerabilities we often overlook. Cruise ships may promise luxury and escape, but behind the music and the waves lies a stark reality. In the wrong place, at the wrong time, anyone can disappear. And so, we end where we began, with a young woman, full of promise, sitting on a balcony under the Caribbean stars. Within hours, she was gone. In the decades since, her family has never stopped searching. And perhaps the most haunting question of all is this: if Amy Lynn Bradley is still out there, somewhere in the world, does she know that her family has never stopped waiting for her to come home? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Mysteries Crime Stories. Comment below: do you believe Amy was taken into human trafficking? Or do you think the truth is something else entirely?